Driving drunk is quickly being replaced with driving drugged. Law enforcement in North Carolina says more and more of the impaired drivers behind the wheel are not impaired from alcohol, but from cannabis and narcotics.
WRAL Investigates Sarah Kruger shows us the challenges that trifecta presents for officers.
With drunk driving, there's a clear legal limit of how much can be in your blood if you're going to get behind the wheel. With drugs, it's much more of a gray area, and that can make it harder for these cases to hold up in court.
The consequences of driving while on drugs on full display in Duplin County.
Like, we can't believe it. Sometimes we think it's just a dream. It's a dream, but we will never, he won't never come back.
This family, who spoke to WRAL's sister station, WECT, just lost a father of two, Mildo Velasquez, when troopers say he was hit and killed on the side of the road by a Raleigh woman who they believe was impaired by marijuana. Velasquez's wife and children saw it happen.
He went running to his uncle saying, "Uncle, please tell God to make a miracle for my dad to wake up. Please, please."
These are the stories becoming too common, according to Sergeant Devin Rich with the State Highway Patrol.
How prevalent is it that you're seeing people driving under the influence of drugs?
It's becoming a lot more than what it used to be.
Sergeant Rich is one of the agency's drug recognition experts. After a trooper on scene determines a driver is impaired by drugs, it's his job to come in and figure out which one.
There's blood pressure cuffs and stethoscope that we use.
Running through a series of physical tests and a process of elimination where he relies on his hours of in-depth training. With so many kinds of drugs and so many possible indicators, it can be a tough task.
It's never easy, so to say. It's just you see more and more things, so you know what to look for.
After those tests, a blood test will confirm what drugs are in someone's system. Sergeant Rich says they're finding impairment by cannabis and often prescription pills, plus some over-the-counter THC products bought at gas stations, which, as WRAL Investigates has reported, are not always what they seem.
Because they're not specifically regulated, they may not know what they're getting. We are seeing cases where people have thought they were using Delta 8 and it comes back in the blood as Delta 9 in a high level.
Unlike with alcohol, where a .08 or above is a DWI, with drugs, there's no set level. It's just whether an officer determines it's too much.
Determining impairment is a subjective determination. Does that create any problems for you all in court?
Yes, it can.
Which is why drug recognition experts, or DREs, take great care in their training. Sergeant Rich says there are currently 170 DREs around the state. For Sergeant Rich, despite the challenges, his heart is in it ever since 2006 when he was hit by a drunk driver.
They ran a stop sign, hit me, and put me into a tree. And that made me really realize that, being a victim, that I need to help make a change for that, because there's other people that aren't so lucky.
Other people like Velasquez and his family.
They see the bed, they see his clothes. It's like, who's gonna wear that? I'm gonna hug. And for him, he's like, when I'm gonna see my dad?
I asked Sergeant Rich why he thinks we're seeing more drivers on drugs now. He pointed to access. He says it's easier than ever to get drugs, both the legal prescription kind and the illegal kinds. Sarah Kruger, WRAL News.
Well, that poor family and those kids having to witness that, and still very, very painful, as you would expect. North Carolina's current law prohibits driving with any scheduled drugs in your system, things like opioids and heroin. However, we are not among the 10 states that have a zero tolerance law when it comes to driving with marijuana in your system.